Hey guys, what's up? I'm super excited to announce my first partnership, and that is with Onnit, the supplement company. That's ONNIT. They have all kinds of stuff. They have kettlebells. If you're into working out with kettlebells, just go check out the website. They're a supplement company, Human Optimization. I really like taking their Total Human package. It's got Alpha Brain. It's got New Mood for Night. It's got, what else does it have? Shroom Tech and just a whole bunch of stuff. So it's a 2-time packet, 2 times a day packet, right? You have a packet for the day, a packet for the morning. It's super easy, but they have all kinds of stuff. They have a joint health, and man, a great company, super holistic. So go check them out. Onnit, ONNIT. Up in the top right corner, type in the code name Eliot, ELIOT. Again, code name Eliot, and you will receive 10% off all of your orders on Onnit. ONNIT.com, codename Eliot, and there you go, 10%. Thanks, guys. Hey guys, a couple of updates on me and the podcast. So first of all, always go check out EliotMarshall.com for all things related to what I'm doing in the podcast. Most notably on that, some DBAB t-shirts. Don't be a bitch, don't be a bully. They should be out here soon. So check. I'll have a store up on the website here within, maybe now, maybe a week or so, depending on when you're listening to this. So go check out the store to get your DBAB t-shirt. Super simple design. Hope you like it. Grab one. Secondly, I have created a Patreon page, and Patreon is a really great way to support the podcast if you like it. A lot of great producers, podcasters use it. Sam Harris, Dan Carlin. It's real simple, man. If you like it, then go support. That's it's the most holistic way. You like it. You find this podcast helpful, show some love if you could, please. I have some levels, $1 donation per month, $5 donation per month. That will come with some jiu-jitsu video. So if you're into jiu-jitsu, then there you go. And then the $10 a month come with some jiu-jitsu video and a little motivational stuff. So that would be great to check out that, patreon.com/the Gospel of Fire. And lastly, I'll be competing again soon, December the 8th at the Onnit Invitational. So all of that money will go towards Justin Wren and his fight for the Forgotten. So yeah, we're gonna everything we do is gonna go towards that. I'm doing a seminar hopefully at the Onnit Academy the day after on December the 9th in Austin, Texas. So that's what we've got coming up. Again, that all of that money will go towards Fight for the Forgotten and Justin Wren. Well, not him personally, but his fight for the Forgotten. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoy the episode, and we'll talk to you later. Hey, guys, this is Eliot Marshall, former UFC fighter, and this is the Gospel of Fire, where we're going to go through the fire to learn the best way to live our life. Hi, guys, what up? Next episode of Gospel of Fire, and I am with Matt, the Immortal Brown. How you doing?
Very good, man. How are you?
Good, man. Thanks for coming.
Absolutely.
Man, back in Ohio, you just opened a gym, yeah?
Yes, sir.
How's it going?
So far, so good. It's a lot of work, as you would
it
well
is.
know. It's a different world. I like it. I like challenging myself, trying something completely different, right, and being in an uncomfortable situation. And I was talking to my wife about it the other day, and I was like, I said, man, it's worse than fighting, because fighting, I'm nervous for like an hour.
Yeah.
This, I'm nervous 24 hours a day, every day.
Like, when you don't have a fight, you sleep fine. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Like, whatever. I don't have a fight. And even like, even when you do have a fight, like, you might sleep bad, like the beginning of camp and like towards the end when the fight's like getting close, but you get like some reality. This shit just always changes, right?
Always. Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, you're right. Right at the beginning of camp, maybe a little bit of like fired up, right? And then you get close to the fight again. Like, I'm nervous for like an hour before the fight.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, a little bit of nerves here and there, but maybe some visualization nerves or something. But nothing like this. I mean, this, I'm 24 hours a day. I'm just, every time the phone rings, I'm like, what the fuck happened
now?
this time?
Yeah. And like, I can remember for me, like when we first opened the Denver school, because that was the I touched and had like a piece of. I can remember like looking at the financials every month and being like, okay, when that $5,000 or $10,000 expense goes away, this is going to be good. You know, like we're going to be good. But then every fucking month there was just a different like $5,000 or $10,000 expense. It took me like a year to just be like, you know what? There's just going to be that. Like, that's just how it is. And I have to plan on.
Interesting. Yeah. Because I was funny. I was just talking to my business partner a few minutes ago, and I was kind of saying that exact thing. I was like, dude, we're pretty much almost there, man. Like, we just got to get past this little hump.
Well, look, the hump of members or like revenue, that's doable. You know, like that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like when you look at the books and there's this like in the miscellaneous category or in the marketing or the this or the that category, like when you have that, that's, you know, and then you're like, well, that won't be there next month. You're right. That one won't be there. But it's, you know, it's like kids, right? Tell me, when's the last time you're like, okay, you know, Hunter's not going to get sick, you know?
Right.
You're right. Hunter didn't get sick, but somebody else did.
But no, so yeah, I think you're kind of saying the same thing, right? Like I just see these expenses and I'm like, well, all we need is a couple more members to cover that expense. And then it's just another expense comes up though. And
it's just a different kind of fight.
Absolutely. And like I said, 24-hour fight now.
Yeah.
And I've learned so much. I'll tell you, I've got a whole new respect for guys like you and Dwayne and all the different guys that I've come across in my career that own gyms. And I never really, I guess from the perspective I was looking at, I never really understood like why are they acting like this about this, certain things. And then now being on the other side, I'm like, oh, that's why motherfuckers are like that.
Yes. Well, man, like this is the one that I get a lot. Like with my, they all like want to start like a gi company, or like they want to open like an OTM store down the street from me, right? Mm-hmm. And and like sure, my business. I mean, like we sell gis and gloves and all that stuff, right? But my business isn't like that's not the chunk of business, right? Like or your school, you're teaching people martial arts. But you're gonna do that kind of stuff, And like, who are they? Like, for me, like, you'll get there. You're going to see in 5-10 years when you have a bunch of how much money you put in and how much time you put into gathering all of those. And then you like talk to the guy who wants to open the gi company. He's like, yeah, I'm just going to be able to sell them to all the guys here. You're like, is that right?
But I think on the other hand, you're probably like, yeah, go do it. And yeah. I'd like to see you try.
Mm-hmm. Well, both, right. but like you're like, go ahead, have at it. But you think you're just gonna market to my guys? Like I like to sit people down and be like, do you know how much to get one person to walk in the door costs? Not for them to sign up, just to get someone to walk in. And they're like, well, how much? I'm like, it's like $80 to $100 a person. I'm like, that's expensive. Like that's not like they didn't just like drop out of the fucking sky.
Right. Is that like your average? I mean, I guess getting details, but is that like your average cost of customer?
Yeah, about 100. Different is different, but it's about 75 to it.
Interesting. Okay, that's
to get the person to come to the school.
Yeah. Okay, I just find that fascinating because I was like, we were kind of going over that. We're just at we're still at the infant stages, right? Yeah, sure. I'm learning all this stuff. I mean, I'd never even heard the term customer acquisition cost before. Mm-hmm. And we were going over it the other day and I'm like, damn, I thought that was an enormous amount, but
no,
I guess it's not.
No, but you got to think about all the money you spend and how many people like click on the ad and look at it. And like, especially if you're going to do AdWords, right? Like how many people, like how much each click cost and did that person do anything with that? Like that's why all that dumb stuff. Like, are you a robot? Because people don't want to pay. Like businesses, right? Yeah. Like I as a business owner and you as a business owner, you don't want to pay someone to hit that yes button if they're just like dicking around on the internet, surfing for like internet porn. Came up some like they're like that's that's why, man.
I got you. All right. Hopefully I don't come up on the internet porn, but
yeah, you never know, right? You never know. You never know what happens on the internet.
True that.
Man, let's you had probably like the best walk off into like the sunset fight. Like it doesn't happen for most people, right? Like Like,
yeah.
and yours was just amazing, you know?
If I have walked off,
if you've walked off into the sunset, let's say, okay,
yeah.
I know. If you have walked off into the sunset, you had the best walk off into the sunset fight.
Yeah, couldn't. The only thing is, I wish it wasn't for Diego. Like I hate seeing a guy get beat up, man.
Yeah.
I'd like to see him do some old school Diego, take a guy down and just ground and pound like a son of a bitch, man. I'd like to.
Yeah, I'm stoked because everyone thinks that fighting and all that stuff, it's like so violent and we hate each other, and that's just not true, right? Like most of the people we fight, like we don't hate each other. It's not even about the other person in the cage, right? It's about you say?
I have learned that, yes. Yeah. I mean, I think I've made it about the other person too much in my career. And I have learned that the biggest fight is myself, for sure. I mean, that's what the whole thing is about, 100%.
Yeah, and and it took me, God, I don't even think I realized it until recently, like that I'm competing jiu-jitsu, like how to really deal with that, about just enjoyment and love and stuff like that, about like this whole process. Like it's not about this other person, because when you make it about that other person, you start dealing with like fear, right? Like you start like the fear things start to come in, and it motivates you to a point, but it's going to have its downfalls too.
Absolutely. Yeah. I couldn't have said any better myself. And yeah, that's the beauty of the sport, right? Is we learn those lessons, man. And it takes years and years. I mean, how many beatings do we take to learn a single simple fucking lesson that a guy told you, at least for me, guys told me 10 years ago, and I just didn't listen.
Just can't, it's like having kids, right? You can't understand it. It's just so fucking hard to understand. Like how to get away from your fear, and that's like, for me, that's all it was. Like I fought, like when I was fighting MMA, it was all fear-based. Like the whole thing was fear-based. It made me fight a certain way. And it wasn't good,
It's interesting you say that. Yeah. I tried to make it fear-based, because I spent so much of my career not being afraid. And that was like my problem. Like I was like, I couldn't get myself afraid of people. Like I overcame the fear. At first I was scared, and it was like this big thing, like getting in front of my mom and dad and fighting this other man. And eventually it became like so relaxed to me. I didn't even care. I was like, I could go out there and I'm like, maybe overconfidence or something. Right. So then I would tell myself like, dude, I'm afraid of this son of a bitch. I'd hear GSP say things like that. And that's where I got it from, where he would kind of prop up his opponent all the time.
Yeah.
And, and I would try to take that and I found it to be a negative energy for myself. And, I don't know if it was right or wrong. I guess I'll figure it out in time, but it's interesting you said it. Did you think that was negative, or, I mean, that's how I felt about it.
For you, what you just said?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like, when I made it fear-based, it was a negative energy. Like I was training because of something other than, something pure within myself.
Yeah, no, for sure. That sounds negative to me. Yes. No, I mean, I'm not, you said I'm to criticize, but yeah, no. that's based. That's a
no,
fear.
The energy.
Yeah.
Negative,
the energy. Yes. That's what I'm saying. That's negative. I would agree with you. And I think I don't think GSP fights like that anymore. Like, I think when you heard him talk about on Rogan, like, and he was amazing before, but look, he admits it himself, like he had a fucking breakdown, right? Like he had to walk away from the sport because of what was going on in his head. Like the first time he went on Rogan, he's talking about fucking aliens and like he sounded crazy, right? He's like Joe even talked afterwards about like, dude, you might have some trauma, like what do you mean you talk to aliens and go on car rides and don't know where you are? And that I would say was because of like his basis was fear. And now I think the last time he talked about it, he was like talking about going to the grocery store and just like seeing like old lady, it brings him back that like his fight doesn't matter and he does this because he loves it, and I think if you look at like his last performance, it's one of his best ones, right? Like the Bisping.
Also one of the better matchups too. So I would,
sure.
Yeah, that's where I'll be interested to see how he does. Especially if he comes back to 55 and fights Khabib. My Lord, what a great fight that would be. I mean, but the only problem is the whole X factor of him making 155, right? If he loses, then that's going to be the built-in excuse.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that Bisping wasn't a great matchup, but that's a GSP that we haven't seen before.
I agree.
Right? Like dropping people with their hands. And then like after that happens, not playing it safe, right? Like getting on top and finishing. Like finishing like, look, it's always nice when the person doesn't tap and the choke's sunk in. Like that looks cool, right? Like he goes to sleep and all. Like, I mean, it's no different than if the person would tap other than that it looked cooler, right? Like, but yeah, but yes, a good matchup and I think also a different GSP.
Yeah, I always wanted to hear Bisping's take on that too. Yeah. I thought he looked terrible in that fight, to be honest. And maybe GSP did that to him. I can't take it away from him.
Right,
But
you can never say, right? You can never say.
Yeah, but I always, Bisping's that kind of guy, where he's not going to tell you he had he broke his back during training.
Right. Right.
He's not going to be like Mike Tyson. It was spinal, right? Yeah. He's gonna go out there and just fight and not mention it ever again. So, but I'd be real interested to hear, because I just thought he looked shit, but I certainly wouldn't want to take it away from GSP because he looked amazing.
He looked amazing. Yeah, for sure. Both things happened. Happened, so you just never know, right?
Yeah, it could go either way.
Yeah, it could. So what do you think? I mean, you brought him up. I haven't talked to any fighters since it happened. What do you think of the whole Khabib, Conor, the UFC? What's your take on it?
I guess you kind of reap what you sow, right?
With the UFC, you're saying.
Absolutely. They promoted it. I do think Khabib was out of line, but at the same time, emotions are high after a big fight like that. And, the UFC promoted Conor to talk in the way that he did about him. And I can't say that I would do any different.
Like, so. I think the same thing would have happened if Aldo would have won. Like all the things that he was saying, that Conor was saying about Brazil and the country and the people and all of that, right? Like, I think if Aldo would have won, Aldo would have gone fucking crazy after the fight, right? Especially if he beat his ass the way that Khabib beat Conor's ass. I mean, Aldo just didn't win, And then the Nate fight, the Nate fight, when Nate Diaz won, he didn't have there wasn't the time to build that animosity, and he wasn't making fun of Nate's he was making fun of Nate's 10 friends, there wasn't there wasn't who you are, your culture, your religion, your people, your all of that. Nate and his 10 friends have been taking shit for their whole fucking life.
It's a great point. Yeah, it's a great point. And it's tough because the UFC wants to sell fights, and so they have to do it, right? I mean, That's what sells. I mean, we seen it. We all watched it. We all would have paid, more for it than what they charge for us. And
I can't remember the last time I bought a UFC. I can't remember the last time my wife asked me to watch a UFC. I was like, and I was in vacation in Hawaii, right? So and then my wife was like, "Hey, are we going to get the fights?" And I was like, "Huh?" Right? Because in Hawaii, right, the fight came on at 4 p.m. It's still the middle of the goddamn day.
Oh, wow.
And she's like, "Are we going to get the fights? Let's yada, yada." And I was like, "Okay." I mean, sure, I'll get the fights, but
even when Conor fought Mayweather, I mean, my wife wanted to watch a boxing match.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, what, you don't want to watch, Chocolito fight,
Yeah, my wife.
You don't want to watch one of the greatest here?
Yeah.
You want to watch this debut guy?
Yeah. Okay. This guy that has 0 boxing fights. My wife, the same thing. I was in Vegas for that fight. And for a jiu-jitsu tournament. So there was a whole bunch of Easton guys. So we had an Airbnb and people came over and we got it. And then the next thing I knew, my wife was like, "Hey, the feed is out." And I'm like, "What's the matter? What are you trying to watch?" What do you mean the feed is out? The DirecTV? She's like, "Yeah, I can't order the McGregor fight." What?
You're save your money.
You're gonna
tell you what's going to happen.
You're going to watch a fight and I'm not even there?
And a boxing match. When was the last time your wife watched a boxing match?
Yeah, the last boxing match she watched was De La Hoya versus Mayweather. And she hated it.
Yeah, and as I say, she probably watched 2 rounds.
Yeah, she hated it. Yes. Yeah. So,
and that was what happened at the Mayweather McGregor fight too. I had a bunch of people over, and my wife watched 2 rounds and was half drunk, and it was all right, this is social hour. This isn't about the fight. Right?
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's just, there's something about what Conor does though, and how he markets. They made, how much money did they?
Yeah, a lot. I'm sure. I never did see the pay-per-view buys.
What's that?
I never did see the pay-per-view buys. Was it over 2?
Yeah, it was 2.4 million.
Okay, yeah.
The biggest one ever.
Yeah.
The biggest.
Yeah. So, like I said, I think that, the UFC reaped what they sowed. Yeah. I mean, that was, you're pushing this culture of, how everybody's trying to be Conor these days, right? And because of the way the UFC has pushed him, and they've done a very good job at it. And, and I've always respected Conor a lot, but he's got to step up his game every time too, right? He can't sell the same thing over and over. He's got to start attacking new other things. He's got to be more creative with his verbal attack, right? So they put him in that position, and he ate it up and made a lot of money doing it. But yeah, you can expect, something, I don't know. It doesn't happen very often, but we've seen it in boxing a couple of times. You can only push a guy so far. And Khabib's a fucking soldier, man. He's not going to sit back and take that shit.
And from Dagestan, right? Like from a place in the world that is just god awful, right? Like
dog eat dog.
Yeah, it's god awful, and like their family and their culture is all they've got, And man, like so when you start attacking people like that, it's going to get ugly signs.
I couldn't agree more. I think like I said, it's a dog eat dog over there. If you rob someone over there, they're going to murder you, right?
Yeah, they're not calling the police.
Yeah, no. That's exactly it. You talk shit about someone, they're going to fuck you up every time.
There's no, like they have no quote unquote crime because nobody calls them. They just handle it, right? Like, like they just handle their shit all on their own, right? There's no, there's, it's like they're like dog dog for sure. They're not worried.
Yeah. So that's the culture he came up in, and I liked what Khabib said. He said he doesn't like the culture of the trash talk and everything. I totally agree with him, and I'd say that the only time I think in my fighting career that I kind of started to step on that path a little bit was when I fought Cowboy. Yeah. I got knocked the fuck out for it. So, I could attest that, it's not always the way for everybody. I think it's certainly a way for certain people, but, I want to see people, what I try to promulgate to my own people that I help out is, be yourself, man. Don't fall into the trap of, money's not all that, man.
It's going to come and go.
It's going to come and go.
It's going to come and go. It's something I thought about a lot, right? Like we've really started the schools, we define these things called our core value. And a core value is like something that you'll lose friends and money over. And when you start to like defy your core values, it just becomes so clear to me, like when I'm like, because we all do it still, right? Like you fuck up. And it like once you like define them, it's so obvious. And you feel like shit, even if like the end result of that particular situation was good or bad. Like let's say it was good, like you still don't feel very clean. Like once you state like these are what this is what I stand for. You put them down in writing and you do all that, then you're like, fuck, I didn't do that.
Yeah, I think that's what the book, 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, right? That's what the entire book is about, right? Living a principle-centered life.
Yeah, and it kind of has helped my life personally and my business. It's been very interesting. Like, yep, that was a dirtbag move. And
I guess once you write it down, it's a whole another thing too, right?
Yeah, rather than it just being in your head. Because you're like, oh, I believe this in your head, but you don't tell anybody, you don't write it down, and then you start to justify it in your head too. Right? Like you're like, okay, but this and but that. But like when you write down on paper, I won't cheat on my wife. Right? Like you're like, and you do it and you're like, yeah, I pretty clearly said, so, but man, let's talk about just like your life a little bit, because I don't know if you've listened to the podcast, but I don't like to just talk about like, or whoever I have on, the great thing. I think something that we don't do enough in our lives and get hidden from a little bit is we get on Instagram, and we just see all these like great things. Oh, Matt, the Immortal Brown, look at that fucking knockout he had. Look at him, yada, yada. Right. But there's this other side of Matt Brown, right. That wasn't so great, that came up to make what Matt Brown is now, like what everyone gets to see, or, maybe not necessarily you, but like the Kardashians, right? We don't know how their fucking life is. It looks great on Instagram, but we have no clue. So yeah, you had some struggle, right? You had some difficult times in your.
Yeah, I have. I mean, I think we all do. Yeah. Maybe I've had worse than others, and not as bad as some others. Sure. Man, I met a guy the other day. He told me his story, and I broke down and cried right in front of him. So, I certainly can't say that I've had the worst experience, but like you said, the social media, Instagram, it's just a picture in time, right?
Right.
We don't want to.
But it's not a true picture necessarily either.
Very rarely, probably, right?
Yeah, it's not a true picture.
Yeah, most people want to project a certain image of themselves, and that's one thing I've learned about social media is I can project whatever image I want, and I can control that image. So I should make that a positive thing, and I can look at other people that do positive things and follow them, and then that increases my positivity.
For sure.
And I kind of see it just as like this huge ball of energy, like this wherever that hard drive is that Instagram runs off of. I mean, it's just a ball of energy, and we can make that a better energy or a worse one. So
yeah, and we can help each other, right? Like we can help each other do this better. And I think the way we do that is with some honest conversation like that. Yeah, we slip up sometimes. Like, you don't do everything perfect. I don't do everything perfect. I talk about this all the time. My producer, Doug, always likes me to edit out like my fuck up. I hope it didn't happen in the episode. But like if I do something bad and the audio clips out or something for a second, and then I say, Doug, I just fucked that up. And he likes to edit that out. And I'm like, nah, man, don't edit that out. Let people see that I did something wrong and moved on. Like got over it, fixed it. Like everyone, this perfectionism we have with our lives and ourselves, nobody's fucking perfect.
Yeah. And I guess you learn that from being a fighter too, right? You learn, who was saying, I was talking to someone the other day, about public speaking, and they were like, because I did a speech at a high school, and they're like, you weren't even nervous or anything. And I was like, dude, I've been knocked the fuck out in front of millions of people. Yeah. Like, I don't have anything to be nervous about. Like, I'm not worried about nothing. Like I've been ridiculed on social media. Like, I still have people send me videos of me getting knocked out, and they like laugh at me. I'm like, there's no worse feeling in the world, Dude,
yeah, I've been retired for 10 years and I still get it, right? Or 7 years, and they're like, "Are you the guy that this happened to?" And I'm like, "Yep."
And they're like, "You suck. You're terrible."
Yeah. They're like, God, who taught you how to do that? And I'm like, yeah, fuck that one up for sure, man. That's the best thing about fighting, right? Is it's just present moment thinking. Like you are not living in the past or the future at all, right? Like you are just right there in the moment, and that's all you have. All you've got is now, and that's such an important key with fighting. And you learn to just fuck up and move on. Yep, I missed my jab. Yep, he blocked my kick and countered me with the left hook. Got hit. I'm still awake. Move on.
Yeah, and I guess people's personalities come out too, right? Where they maybe they miss it, and then they try again and miss it again, and eventually they're like, "Oh, I guess I'm not going to get it," and they give up or something, right? And I think a lot of people their personalities would come out in real life, do the same thing.
Something else I like to talk about is like I have this thing. You remember Singular Wireless like years ago? Like that.
Oh yeah.
And they had like rollover minutes, right? Like where you if you didn't use, like you had like 100 minutes or something, and you only used 50 of them, they'd add the 50 to your next month. So you had 150, right? People like that. And I think fighters do this too. This is where it can get ugly, right? Is they like we think that there's rollover minutes in our life, right? Like you were tough as nails in one fight, right? Like you fucking showed the fuck up, ready to fight. And you're like, oh yeah, that's always going to be there. Right? It was there yesterday. It was there my last fight. So boom, it's going to be there my next fight. And then the next thing you know, it's not there. And you're like, whoa, what the f is that? Why did that happen? Because you didn't mentally prepare. You didn't do the work, right? You didn't do the work to get there and like be ready to scrap.
Yeah, you took it for granted for being there. Huh?
Yeah, you took, and we do that with our lives, right? You're like, oh man, you see it all the time, like in a basic thing. Man, I ate perfect for 4 days. I exercised, drank a lot of water, yada yada. Fucking pizza, here I come. Right? Like that's just like you think there's going to be rollover minute. There's no fucking rollover minutes here, man. You got to wake up and earn that shit every.
Yeah, that's a great. I never thought of that way. Yeah, it's a great point.
Yeah, I've just been trying to think about like, man, how do you get this through to people, right? How do you get like, whether they do martial arts or don't do martial arts, like whatever it may be, how do we understand, like, because that's what martial arts teach, right? That's exactly what martial arts teaches. When you come in and you spar, right? Like some days you'd come in and spar Neil and beat his ass. And then the next day you'd come in and spar Neil and he'd beat your ass. That's the truth that day. right? Like that, and martial arts keeps you real honest,
Yeah.
It keeps you very, very honest. There's nothing that you did yesterday, like what you did yesterday doesn't matter, because we all know the only thing that really matters is the 15 minutes in the cage, right? Or the ring, or wherever it is that you're competing. Look, man, in 5 years, your record's not going to matter, right? Like you will have fought in the UFC, and that's what it, because you're either the champion and like Conor McGregor and everyone knows you, or you're just like, a guy in the, yes, fuck yeah, Matt Brown fought in the UFC. Fuck yeah, man. Great fights. That's really what it turns into. Because I know I didn't have great fights, and that's all people say to me.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I see the fight itself as, I look at it a lot differently now, where now it's just a picture in time. Like I devoted my life a long time ago to martial arts, and I'm going to do that to the day I die.
Right.
And I can look at the fight as that's where I was at that day, that hour, that minute. And that, maybe I should have been here, I should have been there, but that's exactly where my skills and my mind and everything were at that time. And I can take from that and improve on it, or I can, dwell on it and be a bitch about it, whatever. Right. But, what that is just simply a picture in time of my martial arts journey. And the martial arts journey is the lifetime, though.
Yeah, no, the professional career of getting in there is a piece of it, right? It's a piece of it. But if you do nothing after it, right? If you do nothing with that piece after it, because, man, I believe we were able to gain like really real knowledge in a real way, about life, not about necessarily just martial arts, about life and how to live a solid, good life. And if you don't give that to other people, well, then all of that time, all of that, I don't care if you're the fucking champ or not, that was wasted.
Which is, that's a perfect, because that's exactly what has motivated me to be open a school and be a martial arts instructor, because I want to give it back. I mean, I feel like the knowledge you kept to yourself is useless, right? There's nothing of value for it if it's only kept to yourself.
So yeah, Steve Jobs changed the world, like with the iPhone and all that stuff. But what he talked about on his deathbed or while he was dying was like his people that he should have been closer to, and how he should have touched their life. So we get, that's the beautiful thing about martial arts, right? Is we get so many people walking our doors. And when they come in and they get committed to us, it's almost like joining a religion without some of the bullshit that goes with religion. And we get to like really touch their lives. And if we don't use that platform, then I mean, that from being a long time instructor, right? I mean, how many lives have you touched, and you just change people? You see them over the years, I'm sure, right? Just coming in from some useless nobody, or low self-esteem, or damaged relationships, whatever, right? And then they come in and 5 years later they're out there just killing it and just destroying life and just doing everything, just surprising everybody. And man, like I have to say, it's what made me reach out to you the other day. I had no intention of even doing a podcast with you, like I just saw your Instagram. Like I was like scrolling through Instagram and I was like, oh, you know what, man, I need to hit Matt up, because we were touching each other's lives for a moment in time, and I was like, man, I was like, man, was I the best coach? Fuck, maybe not, let's say whatever it was. But either way, I need to call Matt, because I enjoyed my time with Matt, and I think we could, we should stay in contact, I should do that, and we should, and it's just super important to me, because it's one of those things where even when things don't go well, maybe in that moment, like you lost your fight, or your couple of fights, like that doesn't mean I think we liked each other. And I don't know, I guess you'll answer the question in a second, and like, why should that, like how you were talking that moment in time, like why should we let that go?
No, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, it's funny you said, because I was actually thinking about you there too. And I was like, just my time that I spent in Denver, the entire thing, it was like a very awkward time for me, because I was really like there for money.
Right.
And
God, fuck yeah.
Like that's what brought me to the city.
Yeah.
And that like fucked everything up. Like what we were just talking about money a little bit ago, like that, made everything in the entire city, a different dynamic, it wasn't pure anymore. And I just all you can do is look back and learn the lesson. Right. And now I really view money as a completely different thing. I mean, of course we have to have it for certain things, but realistically, like it's a scoreboard, I think. I mean, It's just a way to keep score, right?
It's a way to track if you're, with some things.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a way to track, but it's not the end all be all. I can't agree. Man, I'm glad you said it because I wanted to say it, but I didn't want it to sound like coming from you as the person who was here. I didn't want it to sound like bad. Like we were doing things for money. And and then Muscle Farm was doing things for money, right? I think everyone, and that's why it didn't work so well, everyone's doing it for the money and not for like the reason why. And like literally, I can remember the day the Muscle Farm thing ended. And I'm not trying to hate on Muscle Farm. Like they had to do they have their own thing going on, right? Like I'm not trying to hate on like Drexler or any of those guys. But the day that happened, I was like, you know what, guys? We are never, and I said to myself personally, I am never going to do anything for money again. Like, this is the end of that, And like you said, you came to Denver for money. You didn't fucking know any of us. And that's just not a holistic way to go about things. I think I think we made a good relationship, and I think we can be friends, and that's holistic and good, and I'd like to continue that moving forward. But as far as like the whole professional coaching relationship, that was all the money.
Yeah, and well, in some respects, I mean, I certainly have a respect for you and the other guys too. I mean, it wasn't. I tried to always see a bigger picture where I'm like, look, I'm here for the money, but I'm still a fighter,
right?
But yeah, the money, just makes it complicated. Like you said, it wasn't just a holistically pure thing, from the beginning. And I'm the same as you. I learned the lesson. It's cool we're talking about this on a podcast, right?
Yeah.
I kind of always thought I would just call you and we'd talk about it in person, but let other people hear it and maybe learn from it, right? Where
man.
We can give to others and they can kind of see a larger dynamic of something that, I guess when people watch fights, they don't really see, the depth of what's really going on, right? Like there's a lot of things that can always be going on. So, that's cool, but it's cool for us to catch up and be able to talk about it. And I think we both have a complete understanding. We just never really put it out there.
Right. We never, it was just in our heads. Right. It was just in our heads. Like I was talking about like your core values, and like it was just in our heads. And like, I'll be honest with you, I didn't even mean for the conversation to go this way. Like it just naturally went this, like it just got there, which I think this is what I'm talking about when we need to let people see what you're successful. I'm successful. They need to see like the fuck ups of our success. And like, look, we just did this kind of live, right? Like how we just kind of moved through this. And I mean, it won't be live when people listen, right? But it will, they'll get to be like, oh man, look at those two guys who are probably going to be considered alphas, right? Who have, high testosterone, aren't afraid of confrontation. And like, they just kind of worked through it on not knowing and just got through there. And we need to do this more, not necessarily me and you, but with all of the people in our lives, we need to be working to see because I did not know that you felt that we feel exactly the same about it.
Yeah, I think so. And I think like most people, you're probably like me where, look, I wake up every day and I do the best I fucking can that day. And, I keep my values in check and I make tons of fuck ups, probably more than most people, I think. But I just grind right through them. Right.
Yeah,
and that's what life is about. Right.
Yeah. I call it debabbing, man. You got to wake up every day and not be a bitch and not be a bully.
Right. Yeah.
I'll send you a shirt. I just got some shirts made. That's what I call it every day. It's both ends of the spectrum. Don't be a bitch and don't be a bully.
I like that. That. It's pretty simple, right?
It's simple.
Not that complicated.
It's not complicated.
Yep. So, with that said, now I'm taking all those lessons and I feel like now's a good time for me to start giving them back. And,
fuck yeah, man.
Again, I'll tell you the story. I was talking about, this kid earlier that had me almost breaking down and crying. He walked in on his son. His son had killed himself, and he walked in on him, took the rope off his neck himself. So, when I see a person like that comes in and he's like, I need martial arts for my life.
Yeah.
Right now. And I like, that was probably one of the most inspirational things I've ever done in my life, where I thought like, what have I been doing with myself this whole time? Like I could be touching people like this. And here I am, just being narcissistic and just fucking greedy and, taking everything for myself. But I could be reaching people like this.
Changes, right, man?
Yeah.
It changes when you open that door to the public, right? It just fucking changes. And you're just like, God damn, I got to help more people.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I've already seen this guy feel better about himself, right? Like he understands, like it wasn't him, you know, like he did the best he could. I mean, I won't get too far into it. Yeah. You know, it'll bring a tear to my eye even talking about it. But, you know, just realizing that power that we have. I mean, what an insane amount of power, right? I mean, that's
and responsibility.
Yeah.
Right? And responsibility because now we got to live it. Right? Like you got to live up. Like that guy's coming. Like you said, his, you know, fuck, man. I mean, it doesn't get worse than like that's
right.
There it is. Right. So now he's looking to you. Right. And now we have to, you know, this is like the not be a bully part of that DBAB and shit. You have to lead in a holistic way. Right. You can't like abuse your power with that because you know he's going to find you. Right. He's going to be like, goddamn, Matt Brown's the fucking man. Matt Brown's God, you know? And to not go there with it, that can also be very difficult, you know, on that like guru level that people have with their martial arts team.
Yeah, and I certainly don't. You know, I don't want that to. You know, I don't want it to turn into that. I'm not having a cult, right?
No, but you're going to see that it's easy for it to turn into it, right? It's not hard. Like just because these the people that you don't make fighters, you know, like your fighters, like you can see them growing in everything, and they're like they do a lot of the work too, right? Like these people, like the normal everyday Harry and Sally and Judy that come in and like you kind of become that leader for them, and they're just like, because they don't go get in the cage and fight and get that out and be like, God damn, I'm kind of the man too, you know, like so like this, you know, like you're gonna like. To like that's something like that's partially, man, why I go to therapy every week, so I can like talk to my therapist and make sure that I'm still on a path where I'm like, yeah, man, I'm no one's guru, I'm no one's leader. Like I'm gonna walk first, but I don't want anybody walking too far behind me. You know, I want them walking right next to me.
Yeah, and it's funny talking through all these things. This isn't what I signed up for when I decided like, okay, I'm opening a school. Finally, I've wanted a school for a long time. I always want. Spread my martial arts knowledge, but it wasn't never for this. Right?
Yeah, you thought you were going to teach people martial arts.
Yeah, I thought they were going to be like me, come in, train, be happy as fuck, and love the dude, and go home and fuck your wife, right? But no, like it's so much more than that, and I'm learning that as I go along, and it makes it all the more worth it in the end, ultimately, though.
Yeah. So, man, like. I know you probably got to roll, but tell everyone where your school is, where they can reach you, where they can find out about your school and all that stuff.
The school is Immortal Martial Arts Center in Lewis Center, Ohio. Of course, you can reach me Instagram, Twitter, all that, Facebook, all that good stuff. I am the Immortal, and yeah, it's pretty simple. Reach out to me anytime.
Fuck yeah! Well, man, I'm psyched. Not only that I talked to you, but what we talked about. I think more people need to listen here that again, we have conflict in our life, or we're thinking about things a certain way, and that the other person ain't thinking that different. You know, we're not that far apart. We're way more similar than we are apart. I think we kind of knew that about each other already, but our conversation today really, I really enjoyed it. More, I like the conversation more than I thought to, and I like you more than I did before. Even not to say that I didn't like you, but, you know, like I mean, I like moments like.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Anytime, and we'll chat in person again soon too.
Yeah,
I got to jump off here, and I got to actually go into my daughter's Halloween thing. So
hell yeah, man! All right, well, enjoy the time with your daughter. I appreciate it.
All right. Talk to you soon, brother.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to this episode of The Gospel of Fire. Hit me up on my social media at FireMarshal205 on both Twitter and Instagram. Give me a follow at my fan page on Facebook, Eliot the Fire Marshal. Give a subscribe on iTunes, on Stitcher, wherever you're listening. Throw a review up there. We'd greatly appreciate it. We'll see you on the next episode.